Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, Baseball Talk, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Fall ball, full swing. If you want to get some games in, play, have some fun, enjoy, check out game7baseball.com for a full slate of fall baseball tournaments. All the way into October. Got some cool stuff. Got the fall championships, I believe, are down. Well, no, I think fall championships are here, but I know they got a good tournament lineup down at Ballparks of America as well. Some cool venues. Check out game7baseball.com. Tell them YBM sent you. Appreciate that.
So this area back here is basically production. They do a lot of the artwork back here. They do the production. So any of that stuff that comes in off of, we'll say, our fanware stores, stuff that comes in off the team stores, a lot of the coaches wear, a lot of the last minute, hey, we got to have it in the next 10 minutes stuff. That's all comes back here. This area is where all the day-to-day stuff that comes in really goes through. The retail store is its own little entity. This is where the real work is done.
Hey, today on the show, we've got some more PBR fall games that we're going to chat about. We got some players. We got Kevin Moulder freshly back from his stint down in Florida, working with PBR. Had what was it, the All-American Games, Kevin?
The All-American Games, yes. I was the manager for the young guys, the 2026 class, and we had what a great event and eye-opening experience. So it was a fun event.
That's cool. Where'd you guys end up playing? Was it just high school fields, different places, or is there? Because it was in. We
played in Miami Marlins ballpark.
Did you really?
We did the workout there. So yeah, we were in a big league stadium. It was first class. It was a pretty special event. They had the kids stay at the same hotel where the big league teams stay, and charter bus to and from, and the amount of gear, and we were in the visiting clubhouse, and everything was basically done exactly how a pro operation would be run. Gear, uniforms, and what a great experience, and to be around the top end players in the country was a fun experience.
How many Mo players? Get any Mo players in there?
We had Jordan Martin, and it's teams of, one team had 22, one team had 23, so not every state is represented. Mm-hmm. California, heavy on California, Texas, and Florida, obviously. Jordan Martin was there, performed really well. He pitched, had a clean inning, struck out two guys, was 90 93. Slider was up to 80 miles per hour, so he looked really good. My thoughts on Jordan. I think he's a special talent. Yeah, so he performed, he showed well, represented the Show Me State extremely well.
He's a draftable kid, isn't he?
Yeah, yes, he is. That was a good outing for him. At this event were scouting directors and GMs and, some Power 5 coaches, the very top end, but it was mostly professional baseball personnel at this event. But yeah, Jordan's going to have a real shot, like any kid, going to have to have a good spring next spring, and even start to the summer with the MLB draft combine. And but he has the stuff you can't coach. He's a super athlete. I think I've said this on here before. If he didn't play baseball, he's sitting on Division I basketball scholarships. So it's just a special talent, 6'5" or so, and great athlete. And the thing about him is his best days are well ahead of him. He's still an elite basketball player. This was his last baseball thing of the fall, and then he is 100% in basketball. They made the state finals last year, Jeff City. so now he's going to do basketball, which is great, I think. But he's going to do that all the way through March. So he got a little bit of a late start on baseball last year. And so when he turns his focus completely to baseball, and then that body continues to mature and fills out, he has the looks of a guy that's going to hold the mid 90s when he's pitching. He looks like a guy that's going to be capable of pitching 92 to 97 and it not be a big deal. Like it's just going to be comfortable for him. So Jordan did great. Looking forward to following him next spring and kind of see where things fall for him.
We're going to work to get him on a player spotlight because I love that conversation too, Kevin. That it'll be interesting to see which direction he goes. That's a tough thing. You're as an athlete, there's very few of those kids that play at those levels on two sports, let alone three.
Right. Yeah. And it's just really a special athlete is what it is. So yes, it is extremely hard to do it. You see it every now and again. A kid will pop up into college, and there's, you think about the quarterbacks, you see some pitchers / quarterback situations, Tom Brady, John Elway, Jameis Winston, Colin Kaepernick was a draft pick. Patrick Mahomes was an elite pitcher as well. So there are some of those type guys, out there, but they're very few and far between. And
Russell Wilson was one.
Russell Wilson was one. Football, baseball guy. Another one was it was kind of an interesting one. Was the Notre Dame wide receiver that pitched for the Cubs.
Zarja. Yes, I know.
Jeff Samardzija.
Yes.
Jeff Samardzija. So that was kind of an interesting combo, like the wide receiver pitcher. Usually they're quarterback pitchers. Russell Wilson was kind of interesting as well because he was quarterback infield. But they're few and far between. They're really just special athletes. Is kind of what it is.
Absolutely. So we're getting close. We're 104 days from January 1 when we really kick off our winter workout tour and we start the whole process and we're going. So we're starting to count this down, looking at teams. The fall games were interesting because it gave me eyes. I know that's one of the things that you've always talked about. You really get to set your eyes on kids that'll make an impact for their high school teams coming up, which I think is very interesting. And we're going to start. We did some last week. Mostly it was all GAC kids that we were talking about, GAC South, although I messed up because Timberland's going to be in the GAC Central this year. So I messed up one already. Liberty and Timberland are switching.
Yeah, the fall kind of kicks off our initial thoughts. It's where we first start to mold our thoughts on what the teams are going to be, what some of theirs are. This event, it has produced some really good players. Thinking back to like Drake Gower would be an example of a guy that we didn't know before this fall event, and it kind of jump-started his recruiting process. And now he's, of course, committed to Texas Tech. Jacob Rechen was another one, a left-hander that is down at Memphis University now. So this is always a fun event, and it starts to put some guys on the radar. Certainly that happened again. This was our most successful one. We had, about 200 players there and 5 fields going with 5 games. And we, broke it up mostly by class, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, with the older guys kind of intermixing juniors and seniors, just like you would see at the varsity level. We had 1 or 2 young guys, up, but they were kind of established guys. A guy like a Brandon Ott, who was on the varsity team at DeSmet. We would rather get a good look at him versus the kids that he had been competing against. So, and he did great. He certainly didn't disappoint. So, but yeah, it was a great great day. The weather was perfect. It was like the best day of the year. It was like low 70s, sunny, very much slight breeze, just enough to keep the air moving. Wonderful event.
It was. I want to lead off here, and I kind of went through and was looking at. I took the hitting stats this time and started looking at different guys with this one, Kevin. That's why it's kind of a little bit all over the place. And then some guys I'd laid my eyes on. And starting off with Jack Cosine, Notre Dame Regional, plays for the St. Louis Redbirds. The biggest thing that I saw, and then his hitting stats were good, but I really liked him behind the plate. I thought he received the ball well. I thought he was athletic behind the plate. Talk about Jack a little bit, what you know of him.
Yeah, Jack's down at Notre Dame, which is in the Cape Girardeau area. Catcher outfield, I agree with you. Catching primary, does a really nice job from behind the plate. Good athlete. He handles the bat well too. He's got some juice in there. He's kind of hanging out in the mid 90s with his exit velo. In that 25 class. There's certainly going to be a good spot for him in collegiate baseball. And this is the type of event that is, Notre Dame, very solid program. They've had some good runs in the playoffs, but just getting a little extra exposure. And, Jack's a guy that I expect to see moving on to some level of college baseball, and catching in particular is always at a premium, and the fact that he can swing the bat is a definite bonus.
That's what popped off, because when I saw his name, I liked him behind the plate. Like I said, I thought he had good hands, blocked well. I thought he handled. I really think this event shows catchers well, just for the simple fact, Kevin, that most of these guys haven't seen these pitchers.
Exactly. The catchers have a tough go of it because they're catching new pitchers every time they're going in. Now, they get to warm the pitcher up, so they get a little bit of a crash course on what that pitcher is like. But yeah, they're seeing different arms, and it is tough because that catching there's a lot to it. It's more than just physical attributes, and I feel like the best catchers, you got to watch them play the game, not just do a workout. And that's the great thing about our fall event is you get to play a game, you get to see how they handle the pitching staff. You got different mentalities with certain pitchers. Some you got to go get on. Some you kind of got to coddle and bring along. Some you got to fire up. So there's little nuances that elite catchers are really good at, and that shines through during games, right?
Absolutely.
You can't really tell in a BP workout or watching them do pop times and throwing and even receiving and blocking. You got to watch them play, and Jack's one of those guys, and certainly had a really nice event for us.
Yeah, I thought he stood out because that was the thing that really struck me. You're seeing so many different arm angles and then speeds, and then are you blocking well with a guy that you don't know if is going to spike a curveball or not? And, I think that's just a tough gig, man, when you get these kids out there. And he was one of the guys that when I watched that was the first thing that stood out for me. And so I think it'll be interesting, Notre Dame, as you said, down there. I think there's I think, as a 2025, do you think he fits in a JUCO situation pretty well there, Kevin?
I do. Now, it'll be interesting. We seriously will need to do a show on the new rules. Yes. I was talking to a couple D1 coaches yesterday, and everyone's kind of in a holding pattern right now because the rosters. What we're hearing is it's going to be a 34-man roster. Schools are trying to figure out when the 34-man roster has to take place, whether that's first day of class, whether that's first day before competition in the spring. So it has been tough on this 2025 and even 2026 class, because right now, a typical SEC team has 53 players or so on their roster. So now we're looking at cutting roughly 19 players. Schools are going to be cutting 17 to 22 players depending on their current roster situation. So all those players are going to be going somewhere. They're going to be in the transfer portal, and it is going to be a messy situation for 2 to 3, probably 2 years. And I think college may be in a better spot when we get through it, but it's not going to be fun getting to that point, quite honestly. So Jack's going to be fine, but I think what you're going to see is an uptick in junior college baseball. And I'm not saying Jack's going to junior college. I don't know. But I think you are going to see an uptick in the talent levels at junior college baseball over the next couple of years, because there's got to be a home for these players coming up, and even some of these guys leaving some of these 4-year programs so they can get back down to their numbers. We are finally starting to get towards the end of the COVID kids, the what I call the COVID kids, the guys that had the extra year of eligibility. I think there's, we're still on a final class or so of that, but that once that flushes out and we're back to, a true 4 classes, then that'll be a little relief as well.
There you go. Next on the list here, a young man we saw at the state championships for Duchesne. Duchesne won the state championship in Class 3. I thought showed very well as Jamison Forrest. This young man can swing the bat, Kevin.
Yes, I love Jamison. Electric personality, which is my favorite part of him. Good kid. He's a physical left-handed bat. He grabs your attention every time he shows up to the field. Jamison Forrest is there. Hits the ball with authority. We're talking triple-digit exit velo, 102, in that 102 range. Plays third base at Duchesne and was a huge part of that championship run for them. Jamison has a real feel for the barrel. He's a hitter. That's what he is. We'll see ends up positionally. I think it'll depend on where he goes to school. Be a third over space, athletic enough, he could play a little outfield too. He was a member of the Future Games and made a highlight reel over the shoulder catch in foul territory on defense. So he's a good athlete, but he's a bat. He is one of the big time hitters coming up in that 2026 class.
He doesn't. When you see him, you don't think automatically athletic. His build and whatnot. You just looking at him, but then you watch him play. He runs a little faster, and you think all of a sudden it's like his hands are. And I think when you got those kind of hands hitting wise, it translates to the defensive side.
100%. He definitely has good hands and a pretty good throwing arm as well. Yes.
Absolutely.
He's one of the sneaky good athletes.
Duchesne, I think they could make another run too. I think that would be interesting to see.
I agree. Definitely agree.
Will they get bumped in class? That'll be the curious thing.
This is the stuff we'll figure out over the winter time, I suppose. Even late spring, right?
Yeah, we won't know.
Yeah.
I could see Duchesne is private school, that thing getting that bump to that class 4, that next window. So it'll be interesting to see that happen to Springfield Catholic quite a bit through their run with that pitching staff they had and the athletes they had. So they're in class 5. I think they'll roll back down eventually.
Right.
But so Jamison Forrest, one to watch. I think that kid's very good. Next on the list here, I kept thinking his last name was his first name. It kind of messed me up a little bit. But Payne Kent, Lafayette, plays in the summer with the Rawlings Tigers. I thought he had a really good event, Kevin.
Yeah, this is a guy that's starting to make a name for himself. He 2027, so a sophomore over at Lafayette, left-handed hitter. Too young, He also pitches, but I kind of view him in he's low 80s on the mound. But I'd say the bat right now is ahead. He's exit velo of 100 miles per hour as a sophomore. That's pretty impressive. Lafayette has produced a lot of really good players through the years, and obviously last year they were in the state championship game, and they lost quite a bit. They moved on some really good players. So a guy like Payne Kent, I think, is going to have to step up for them, and it wouldn't shock me at all, despite Lafayette being a very, very good program, and to see a sophomore making that varsity team, because he has the tools to do that. It's a bat guy, left-handed swinger, first baseman. So he is definitely on the radar and one to follow in that 2027 class.
I think Michael Callahan, it will be back. This is his senior year. The Missouri State. They've got a couple of leaders from that last year's squad. And with guys like this, this is a guy I think that can make an impact for this team, this year.
You lose Xander Schmidt. The Xander Schmidt, who was probably the leader of that. You got Paul Pratt, the shortstop, gone. So they did lose some
leadership, right?
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see if a Callahan and some of these other guys can come in and take these young guys up, because he was really fun to watch there that weekend. And so when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, Lafayette, that'll be interesting. That's an interesting dynamic. That mix of younger and some older talent. It'll be interesting to see what Coach DuPont can do with that."
Yeah. Also lost Mr. No-Hitter, Tyson Oswald.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one you can hang your hat on right there, Kevin. That's one of those you're telling your grandkids.
100%. Absolutely.
Another kid around here, GBA, in the summertime, St. Dominic High School. I think St. Dominic's going to be right there again, but another young guy, Cooper Montgomery.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite 2026 bats. Cooper's a left-handed hitter, also real good feel for the barrel, triple-digit exit velo. Had a great spring over at St. Dominic. I believe hit over 400 for them. Has some juice in the bat. He's first baseman, can also play some outfield. Cooper's he is one of the pure hitters in that 2026 class. Also a pretty good runner. 7'1", 7'2" runner, which isn't elite, but good for the position, right? So he's not a clogger, can run the bases a little bit, he can move, which is definitely a plus for a guy that is a corner outfielder or first baseman. But Cooper's calling card is definitely the bat. And he's got a track record of hitting, and I am pretty confident that one of these colleges will follow along the same line of thinking and scoop Cooper up.
I enjoyed this part of it, because then you kind of, and like we said, I saw some St. Dominic kids out there. I think St. Dominic's going to have a pretty good spring. They look like they're going to bounce back pretty good from I thought I had them going on a little further last year. They ran into Zumwalt East in the districts and, just couldn't get through that offense. But I think they'll be back again this year. I think that's a team to watch.
I would agree. I think St. Dominic's has a chance to step up and be one of the the premier schools in the St. Louis area.
Because we're going to talk more about this stuff because you start looking at some of these teams. There's a lot of teams that lost a lot this year, I think, across the board. I think there's going to be some wide open stuff this year, Kevin, as I've started looking at who's coming back. A lot of senior heavy teams graduated, a lot of guys in class 5 and 6.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
So I think this is going to be an interesting season. There's going to, I think, a lot of ebbs and flows, and I think it's opportunities for some of these schools that were young last year. They're going to be, a little more growth there, opportunities. One way out on the other side, we were down in Cape Girardeau. Charlie Morgan, Warrensburg High School. You first saw Charlie at the American Legion baseball showcase or scout day. Plays his American Legion AA team. He led them to the state title this past season. They won the state championship at the 17U level. This young man has got a bright future, I think, as well.
Yeah, I like Charlie a lot. Yeah, noticed him this summer over at the Legion Scout Day for the first time. Really good player. Warrensburg High School, home of Central Missouri. Shortstop, could play a little third base as well. Just a good all-around athlete. Does a lot of things well. He's a 6'9" runner, which is above average. Has a good throwing arm in the infield. Mid-80s across the diamond on the infield. And then he's approaching the upper 90s, during BP with his exit velo. Charlie, is also a winner. He like you said about the Legion program, making the run that they made. Charlie, he's got a real chance and is going to be one of the fun ones to follow this coming spring.
And I think it's interesting, too, when you start talking about high school, that translates. You got a group of kids right there now going into that high school program where Warrensburg, we haven't really heard them before. How can they translate that into that high school program and changing that culture there a little bit?
Yeah. And Warrensburg has produced some good baseball players. That's a baseball town, as I made mention, with Central Missouri there. So I'm sure he's grown up with the Mules play baseball and been to their camps. And, you can tell he has a lot of those attributes that, Central Missouri is often associated with. And he plays winning baseball and is a really good player and a good shortstop.
Absolutely. Fun one, and I love that because there you go. We talked about that early on with Legion Baseball, and I love that his dad, Matt Morgan, is involved in that program. They call it the Mule Club. And there you go. So the resources that are there for them, they're working. They're building that Legion program in that area. So, there you go. I think that's a great opportunity in that community for a Legion program. And, how do you develop players? And that's got to be the key to it, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So however you can get that done, I think those are the things that are necessary. So Charlie Morgan, one to watch there. We're looking forward to that. Last one on the docket today, Oakville. And we saw, of course, the big name Kilburn down there at Oakville. But Aiden Zanley showed up pretty good that weekend.
Yeah, he's a fun guy to watch. Don't know which way it's going to go because he is a true, interesting two-way prospect. He's a big fella. He's in the 2026 class, 6'3", 200 pounds. On the mound, he's a he's mid-80s on the mound and left-handed. So that's always going to garner some attention, right? And he can spin the breaking ball. It's going to be interesting to see his path on the mound. I like him as a pitcher. But then you turn around and you watch him hit. He plays first base, and he's another guy that is getting into the triple digits, up to 102 during BP in the exit velo. That is some serious authority to be driving baseballs with. So Aiden is one of the more interesting guys from the event, and I've had coaches ask me about him, and I'm like, yeah, you got to go see it. It is he's an interesting guy. They're young enough where you don't know which way it'll take him. Uh, both both I would say are legitimately in play, whether he's going to turn into or be that left-handed physical bat, or be the big physical left-handed pitcher. It could go either way, and I'm sure he'll continue to do both through high school, and depending on the college, he might even do both in college. We'll see. But yeah, Aiden is an exciting guy and going to be a extremely intriguing guy to follow next spring at Oakville.
I'm looking forward to that because Oakville's kind of been right there a little bit, not been able to get over that hump. You put this kid in there with Kilburn his last season, that could be a pretty good 1-2 combination there on the mound, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Oakville's loaded the bear. They got some talent.
Yeah. So, and we're looking forward to, because again, so I was talking with Coach Wiggins. We've got the Webster Groves Kirkwood matchup on the schedule again this year at Baldwin Athletic. Boom.
Great.
So I think
we can make it 3 in a row.
Yes, they have it. There you go. Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. We're hoping to do something that's a little different with the St. Louis Suburban. I know Baldwin Athletic does that every Friday, and it's all suburban St. Louis schools. So I'm going to be talking to the Baldwin guys and seeing if we can bring that into it, because I think Suburban Conference, the top one I think is it the yellow? I believe it's a yellow. Maybe it's red. Can't remember off the top of my head. But, the big boys with Lafayette, Marquette, Eureka, all that. All those schools, and Oakville, I think, is in that second pool with, I believe it is going to be Kirkwood, Webster Groves. Maybe it's, Cedar? No. Cedar Hill or something like that. Northwest High School. There it is. I'm getting closer with I got the GAC over here, but now we're trying to look at this suburban St. Louis. It's a big conference, man.
I just wait for the spring schedules to come out. I don't even try to jump into the colors and that throws me for a loop every time. Hey, Brian, one more guy I really wanted to touch on from that the Mo Fall games. Osar Tate, the 2026 shortstop from Lutheran North, led the area in stolen bases last year. He's kind of a different skill set than the guys we just talked about. Osar's more of he's a dynamic defender at shortstop, plus runner, and not necessarily that he's the fastest guy on the field. He is fast, but he just has good base instincts. Good instincts on the bases, good feel for the running game. Did a really nice job defending. Made a couple highlight reel plays at shortstop during the game that he was on, and is a dynamic player on the bases. So he's a fun guy to watch, and a guy that's going to make a college happy down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a fun one. He's a fun guy to talk to too. I enjoyed talking with him. He's got good personality, and that's always what's interesting, because it's cool. I appreciate this, and that's why next time you go to Florida, you're going to have to get me like a press pass or something, Kevin, so I can go down there with my microphone.
I get you.
That would be cool, man. I would love to do that, go down and talk to some of those kids for Youth Baseball Midwest, because to me, that's one of the funnest things sometimes is when, there was so many kids there. It was crazy too. But just talking to the kids, talking to the players, standing in line, they're just standing in line waiting, and I get a chance, we put them on the mic or just having a chat with them, getting to know their personality a little bit. It's a lot of fun.
At the end of the day, and that's why you coming out to those events is I think so great. And we do some other things with the vision testing and which is kind of fun, and the athletic testing, the jump mat and things. Baseball's supposed to be fun, right? So having a good experience and having a good time. The guys that tend to struggle or the guys that freak out, or you have a bad at bat, right, and then you can't get over it, so now you've had not only one bad at bat, but you have 2 or 3 more bad at bats after your first bad at bat, or you make a bad play in the fields, then it's ruined your day. If you're not having fun, you got to have the right mindset to attack baseball, in my opinion. And the guys that are able to be serious, competitive, compete, but still have fun at the same time are generally the guys that perform well.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this upcoming season. We got a lot more kids. We're going to do this more and more throughout the weeks. We definitely want to we're going to have some more conversations about these players, about these teams, as we count down 104 days to the Winter Workout Tour. We've got probably 210 days to the opening day in March. See, Kevin, I'm all over it for you, bro. I got the countdown working. We're going to do a bunch of different stuff. We're going to try maybe even grab Kevin. We want to really focus on the players. We're going to have some player spotlights coming up. We're going to start reaching out to these top players from around the state and talk to them. We look forward to that. It's a lot of fun. We definitely are going to dive into some of these new rules. Like you said, I think one of it's going to be a huge dynamic on where kids get to go and play because of the cut down of that. I think it's a great conversation. Hopefully, maybe we get that. I want to see if we get you on there with Darren Sissel. I think that'd be a great conversation on Baseball 101 with Darren, and discussing those things because, he's been a high school coach right in the middle of it. How do you deal with players? How do you talk to kids? I think these are dynamics that, we don't always sometimes think about with the kids when we're talking about, oh, man, this guy's got exit velo and this, that. Well, then it comes to that component. And that's a tough one sometimes, just as you said. Are you in the right mindset to approach these things?
Absolutely.
So good stuff. We'll be talking to it. Kevin, always, man, a pleasure.
Had fun. This was great.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Please, if you like what we're doing, hit that subscribe button down there. Hit that dinger next to it. It's not a run, but it is a notification for the next episode of YBMcast, whether it be with Baseball 101 with Darren Sissel, our baseball moms, Jen and Tiffany, or the Hitting Zone with Mitch Thomas. Got some great stuff going around. You get to see Kevin talking baseball players and player spotlights. It's a lot of fun. Baseball talk everywhere leading up to the season. We're ready for it. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, drop it to him, Kevin. Go ahead.
Keep throwing strikes.
Hitters? Oh, man, hit it in the gap. How about that? I like that. We'll see y'all next time.